Welcome to the Dynasty Happy Hour podcast. Pull up a chair and kick up your feet as you get ready to enjoy some of the industry's most entertaining and actionable Dynasty content on the planet. We're talking veterans, rookies, sleepers, and oh yeah, you know the crew has those dad jokes ready for you. So let's not wait any longer and bring on the host or some combination of Doug, James, and Tyler.
Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour. The Triforce is back in the building. I am here with Tyler Gunther, James Crease, and myself, your lovely host, Doug Eddy, fresh off another live Scott Fishbowl draft in the city of Boston, in the Beantown. I ran the draft board the whole time. I'm becoming notorious with running the draft board. We did 18 rounds in person, Tyler. Are you impressed?
That is very impressive, but also, I feel like you guys were just, I checked out the pictures. It looked like there wasn't as many kids, and it was just, you guys were ready to go. You guys had a bunch of magazines.
We had one kid in our division with his dad, so.
Yeah, I mean.
He was serious. He was getting the picks in right away.
Yeah, the kid sitting next to me and my son, they were definitely hardcore into it, and my son was watching iPad, so good on him.
Nice. Yeah, I think there was only a couple. I only noticed a couple of kids, and one of them was a father-son team in our division, and they actually drafted a really good team, sniped a few of my picks. I had Sam LaPorta snatched away right in front of me.
I saw that.
And that was shocking in the 10th round because I was like, oh, LaPorta, he'll last. Nope.
Well,
Kelly the sniper got me.
So
Shot me right in the ankle.
I do want to talk about LaPorta in our draft. Thor, if you guys know him, he does great work for college football.
Odinson?
Big Iowa fan, loves Iowa tight ends. He's a big Hawkinson guy, took Hawkinson really early. Well, we're all talking like, oh, is this Sam LaPorta territory? Finally, Scott, who was sitting next to me, just kept auto-picking him every round from like 6th round on, Sam LaPorta. And then finally, Scott, 2 rounds before, put him in like the 10th round. Is like, okay, I'm shooting my shot. And it was. Thor's like, yep, I'm taking him. You got it right.
Yeah, he went above ADP, which was disappointing. Tight ends, it was weird watching the tight ends go ahead of ADP. The nice thing is that I drafted Kelsey and Hawkinson, so I didn't have to feel pressure to draft another tight end. I felt pretty secure there. But it was definitely – that was Leo Pasiga and me. He's not my dad. Nice. Leo is in my division. Always fun to draft with Leo. He brought his son, he's at college age, so he's not a little kid at all. But his son is always a good sport. He's been at the last 2 Scott Fishbowl live drafts, which is awesome. So just a great experience to see a lot of faces that you know and friends that you know and to make new friends. So that's what I love most about Scott Fishbowl and the draft is that live draft experience and the chaos of having 48 people drafting in the same room, and there's beer and there's food and there's prizes. Man, we had sweet tickets for the Celtics. We had 3 Bruins tickets. We had a $500 Underdog credit. We had a pool. Like one of those Intex pools got raffled off.
Nice.
Like there was a 50-50 raffle for $200 and something dollars. It was a $100 Citizen Crust gift card. We had a ton of cool
Let's just
raffles.
hope those Bruins tickets are not for the playoffs and hopefully the regular season.
I was too shy of getting the $500 Underdog credit, which I would have laughed if I did get it because I already have a stack of Underdog credit I'm sitting on.
Which we are totally looking forward to use with all the people
I wait
listening.
until football season.
Yes, 100%.
I wait until football season. So yeah, I would have just sat on it, and then I would have been a big baller with the Underdog. And speaking of bitch, ooh, what I just do there?
You said dog, so
I did. I was just thinking female dog. Don't cancel me. I'm using the
cancel
term.
Culture's coming.
I'm using the term within the correct context.
Great. Now I'm not going to see him because you're going to be canceled.
I knew I should have typo checked the
Doug
show
can't
sheet.
fly out to Minnesota. And by the way, listeners, first of all, if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. Thank you. Facebook Live, check us out every week around 8:30 to 9 o'clock Eastern on Sunday nights. But I'm going to be flying to Tyler and my good friend Damon out in Minnesota, and I'll be leaving in a scant 3 days. I'll be leaving Thursday morning and then coming back Monday night. I am very, very pumped and excited for this trip. I just checked the weather, Tyler. The weather is going to be a beaut. It's going to be in the 80s. There's a little thunderstorm, I think, one of the days on Sunday. Not a big deal. It's going to be way better than it is here because it can't stop raining in New England.
Saturday is what we're calling
humid.
Doug Day up here in Minnesota. Doug Day. I mean, I told my parents, my sister wants to meet you because she watches, if she's watching. And they're all like, "Oh yeah, I want to meet him."
I told my wife, I'm like, I want to feel like a weird celebrity, like a mini celebrity. It's gonna be fun. So definitely looking forward to it. We'll take some pictures and we'll tweet them on the DHH account.
I'll wave from New Jersey.
James will be like, hey.
Probably from the beach. No, you don't.
Probably.
You don't wave there. You just fist bump, right?
Yeah. And you know when else you fist pump is when you go on Underdog.com or you download their app from the Play Store or the Google Store and you fist pump your way into Best Ball Mania, the biggest underdog contest ever. $3 million to first place. They've got the Mastiff, which is brand new. You can enter that now. They've got all sorts of different contests. NFL is heating up. The Scott Fish Bowl, to me, is the official kickoff of the fantasy season when it comes to stuff like best ball and redraft. So I am super pumped to spend some underdog credit. I love doing the props for the games, the over-unders. That's my favorite way to play underdog. I love doing that, add a little bit here, do like a 5-player parlay action. I remember I got like 10 David Montgomery yards away from a couple $100 hit last year, but I don't remember things like that, so it's okay.
Did you guys see that video of him with the stretch bands?
Yes.
No.
Yes, I did. We could talk about that a little bit later.
That was rough. Like I saw that and I'm like, oh my God.
I haven't been on Twitter all weekend, so you'll have to fill me in on the stretch band saga of David Montgomery.
Oh, it was great.
But you can go on there right now. You can play golf. You can do NFL, obviously. Baseball is live right now as well. Just Underdog is the best way to play daily fantasy. So go and download their app right now. Use code DHH to have your deposit up to $100 matched right away. You can start with as much as $200 or as much as $10. If you just want to put $5 in, you should do more than that because you know what? You're going to use it and you're going to get addicted very quickly to Underdog. So check out Underdog Fantasy today. We have some news. We've got a lot of contractual news. We've got signings and we've got some pay cuts to talk about. There's 3 big ones. This is the big 3 news spots of the week. So the first one, first and foremost, the most important one in James's heart is good friend, hot take aficionado, Evan Engram. The Jaguars signed Evan Engram before the Monday franchise tag deadline to a 3-year, $42.5 million contract, $24 million guaranteed at signing. Evan Engram had a great rookie season, and then he was injury-plagued for the seasons leading up to his breakout season for the Jacksonville Jaguars last year, where he was the tight end 5, had a career-best 73 catches, 766 yards, wasn't his career best, and four touchdowns with Trevor Lawrence and company last year. Obviously, the Jaguars bring in Calvin Ridley, so the targets will get redistributed a little bit. But, James, I'm going to give this one to you. Long term, I know a lot of people were like, oh, they drafted Brenton Strange, and a lot of people liked him.
No,
see you later.
I think the contract matches up perfectly for his skill set and what they're trying to do in that offense. We talked about it last year with the transition of Engram into that offense, shadowing what Doug Peterson did in Philadelphia with Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz. Evan Engram is going to be utilized in that offense more so than everybody else thinks. I know they brought in Calvin Ridley. I don't see it changing much. Evan Ingram's going to play the short side of the field, and he's a target. Why wouldn't you love tight end 5? I maybe a hot take. He repeats.
My only concern with Engram is that he ran very hot and cold, and that was a little frustrating. I know a lot of tight ends have a tendency to do that. Yeah, I know a lot of
goes with the territory.
Have a tendency to do that, but that was one of my big things is that Engram would have like a 2 or 3 game stretch that was really good and then be quiet. So, will he repeat his tight end 5? I'm gonna take the no on that. I'll be betting the under on underdogs.
The nice part is, even though he got tight end 5 last year, and he could be a little underneath that, you don't have to pay that price. Like that's the nice thing about Engram is because of his jaded history of letting you down and had a huge stretch of just dropping the ball with the Giants. Last year he kind of comes back to relevance, and then all of a sudden he's not rising in ADP. He's staying where he is. Mm-hmm. And Kittle's about the same age as him, and Kittle seems way higher of a price. And me personally, I think Kittle might get a little more touchdowns, but I think volume wise Engram might be there. And
I think I'd rather have Engram than Kittle.
One for
personally.
one, if I was paying the same price, no, I would probably go Kittle. But the price is what I'm talking about.
Right, exactly.
In this whole entire thing, because you could get
Kittle's yak ability sets him apart from Engram. Engram doesn't have that in his game, or at least he hasn't in a while.
He should, though, but he kind of is like Mike Evans, where he catches and falls. So, yeah, for me, if I could do Kittle for Ingram plus, say, like one of these rookie receivers, like Quentin Johnson plus Ingram for Kittle and a tight end premium, you might be able to get that done. I know you guys aren't Quentin Johnson fans, but like Flowers, you might be able to do that. Mm-hmm. There's routes where you can kind of downgrade, quote unquote, downgrade your tight end to Evan Ingram, but you might not even be downgrading.
Yeah, that's a good point. In other news, and this is a move that I talked about at least 2 to 3 weeks ago with Joe Mixon, is that, I was like, you know what? There's no smoke here. There's no fire with the smoke. So I think Joe Mixon is going to remain a Cincinnati Bengal because he would have been cut by now.
I remember.
Yeah. And Joe Mixon was due over $10 million this season. He took a $4.39 million pay cut, putting his salary at $5.5 million. He'll make a similar base pay next year, leaving open the chance that Mixon returns for an 8th season. It's crazy to feel that he's been in the league 7 years already. And he's still relatively young. Joe Mixon is, I think a lot of you look at Mixon and what they were going to do at the running back position. The writing was on the wall that Mixon was coming back, and that's what I've always said and always believed. So, in dynasty circles, there was a window where you could probably get Mixon on the cheap, and I still think he has potential to be a back-end RB1 in that offense, with their improvements along the line, with them signing Orlando Brown Jr. was a big one. And, I know he had one big game last year, right? And that skewed a lot of his numbers. But the year before that, Mixon was awesome. And you look at the depth chart, Travion Williams, Chris Evans, Chase Brown.
Yep.
There's not a lot there.
I think with this contract renegotiation, it really just puts him out there as, okay, yeah, he probably will stay there for the next 2 years. They're looking to give Joe Burrow that contract money. And you know what? I think his value in Dynasty has caught up to his value on the field. All right. They know that they can implement other players into that system and it'll work, but maybe Joe Mixon is the guy to do it. And he's going Dynasty running back 19 right now. I'm okay with that because of the production I'm going to get out of him. If I'm in a startup, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, 100%. Tyler, you got any words on Mixon?
I don't know. Like, for me, it's almost like they're like, hey, I get you've helped us win, but we're going to throw the ball more. So you either need to take a pay cut or you're going to get cut. And he decided to take the pay cut because he sees Dalvin Cook, Zeke Elliott having issues getting on teams. Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette, like these guys aren't signing big deals. And they're like, hey, we'll pay you $6 million, but you need to drop. Like you need to take a cut because we're going to be throwing the ball more. He's a good pass protector. And he can catch the ball at the backfield. But I think they are taking a step in the Kansas City direction and being like, hey, we could just go running back by committee and throw the ball all over the yard. We got better weapons at receiver than Kansas City, and our line is better. I think we're going to see a whole new offense, and I have a gut feeling Joe Mixon is going to fade fast. So I'm just staying away from him.
Yeah, I don't think he'll fade fast. I think he made a very smart business decision
for him,
to not be a street free agent. I thought it was wild, in Scott Fishbowl, we got through those 18 rounds and 4 free agent running backs got drafted, which I've never seen happen. So it's a different time for running backs, as we've been talking about for a while. There's so much talent in the league. But yeah, I like Mixon going back to Cincinnati. I think he has the upside to be a back end RB1 in that offense. So it's going to be interesting to see where it plays out. And if you had him on your roster, you probably held. I mean, I don't think anyone was selling on the cheap, but if they were, then yeah. But if you were able to acquire on the cheap, then I think you just made a little bit of value back with this move. So that's always a good thing in Dynasty. So last but not least, we've got fresh news. We have a breaking news sounder, Tyler. We should get one. Does it go?
No, but this was when I saw this hit, I was like, yes, we get to talk about it on the podcast. It's not happening after we record or Monday morning.
Yeah,
so it's always nice to get that right off the fresh, like farmer's market fresh.
Yeah. So the biggest free agent on the market right now has decided on a team. DeAndre Hopkins has decided to join the Tennessee Titans on a 2-year deal. The contract reportedly comes with a $12 million base salary. He can make up to $15 million with incentives. The incentives are pretty lofty. So obviously that's $3 million in available incentives each year. If he reaches 95 catches, 1,050 yards, I think that one's doable. 10 touchdowns in that offense. Okay. The last time he hit those numbers all together was back in 2018. 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago. His receptions and yardage he hit just a couple of years ago in 2020 with Arizona. So let's talk a little fantasy fallout. My first reaction was, okay, I don't mind the spot. I would have loved for him to be a New England Patriot. But I
that
get
was the dream
why.
spot. I don't get it.
I get why they probably didn't offer him as much money. I get it.
And Bill.
My first reaction was this maybe impacts Chig a little bit from a target share percentage. I don't think it really affects Treylon Burks all that much. Their wide receiver depth chart was so poor that Hopkins immediately is a starter. You still got Kyle Phillips there. You've got Treylon Burks. I mean, who's their next receiver? Nick Westbrook-Akine still?
Yeah, who is just a guy. Like,
He's
if anybody's
just a guy.
thinking he's like, oh, watch out, break. Yeah, no, he's just a guy. He is the equivalent. I think Russell Gage is better than him, and I would say Russell Gage is just a guy.
That's fair. That's completely fair. What do we think about Tannehill now?
I mean, he's so cheap, but the fact is, what's going to happen after this year? If we're
He
talking
was
Dynasty,
QB 32 off the board in Scott Fishbowl.
if we're talking Dynasty, like Scott Fishbowl, it's different. You're getting the year production, and I don't think they want to put Levis into the situation.
No.
But maybe.
Not if they don't have to.
There's a chance. Yeah, there's a chance. But if they're losing, Tannehill's job is up for grabs, and they need to see what they got out of Levis because they traded up to go get him. So for me, it's like, okay, Ryan Tannehill in Dynasty, you're getting 1 year. Hopefully he goes to a new team, or is he going to get Andy Dalton? Is he just going to all of a sudden just become a backup? That's going to be the issue.
Yeah.
I don't think he's like Derek Carr where another team's going to want him. He's played okay, but he's an Alex Smith light. That's my opinion. Like, he's what Alex Smith was, but I think Alex Smith was actually a better game manager than Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'll pour some gravy on those mashed potatoes. I don't think the game script changes that much. All right. We always look at the Titans as a run first team, and then, it's a run first offense, it's a run second offense, and then they thinking about passing the ball. They only threw the ball about 325 times last year. I don't see that going up that much unless there's a massive injury to Derrick Henry. And we don't want that. We don't want that.
Yeah.
But, however, there is enough targets to go around. You think about it, 50 targets to the backfield, 60 targets to the backfield, and then the rest of them are spread around between the three receiving players. Hopkins obviously is going to get his. He usually gets 8 to 10 targets per game. He's going to eat there, just like A.J. Brown did. Treylon Burks, it's going to stall his development. It is going to shadow him a little bit.
or could help.
It could help.
It's actually just going to lead to less target share and less attempts to prove his worth.
He's a massive buy to me. Like, you get
for sure.
You get to learn route running from Hopkins, who similar build, similar style play, but you got a more explosive Treylon Burks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing you needed to work on was route running. Like, he came in raw at the route running area, and now he's got one of the better ones in the league. Yeah, if Hopkins is open to it, this is what he wants. But then we got to remember, Julio Jones came into Tennessee, and everybody was pumped about it. So this could be just a dead zone. This could be a struggle bus area. And Derrick Henry, how many years does he have left?
That line is awful.
It's bad. They drafted somebody, a safe offensive lineman in the first round this year. But, man, this is going to be interesting. That's all I'm going to say. This team is going to be very interesting.
Yep. They have there's an opportunity they're one of the worst offenses in the league just because they're not going to be able to protect Tannehill. Henry, if he hits that wall and struggles behind that line, I mean, we all believe in Derrick Henry, but that bubble's got to pop at some point.
What are you giving for Treylon Burks right now if you were going out to buy? Say your rookie draft has not happened yet.
Late first.
I'd
want him over Quentin Johnson or Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
I'd put him right next to Trey Flowers with D-Hop coming over.
Well, Trey Flowers is a corner, so
Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers.
I honestly would have him very close to Jordan Addison.
I think that's
those
fair.
two. Because as much as I really like Addison, how high of a ceiling can you have with Jefferson there? And then Burks, I think, is still scratching the surface of what he can be.
Yeah, you know what else is scratching the surface of what they can be? It's Trophy Smack. I don't know if you guys saw the pictures from the LA Scott Fishbowl in the Trophy Smack offices. Every time I see it, I get totally envious because it would just be an awesome experience. So hopefully Tyler can connect with Matt one of these years and
He
be
asked
like,
where
hey.
I was. He asked. He goes, "Where were you?" And I go, I was here, but
I was here. I never got the invite, but thanks. The post party invite, always a fun one.
yes.
But you can upgrade your fantasy league today, whether you play football, hockey, basketball, baseball, soccer. Everything is completely customizable. They have the right trophy for you. And when you use code DHHRing, you get a free $60 championship ring with the purchase of a trophy or belt. They did a promotion at our Scott Fish Bowl. The highest scoring team out of all 4 divisions will win the Scott Fish Bowl ring, which is really cool. So lots of incentive there, which is a lot of fun. And I got to see it in person, and it is a beaut. It is a really, really nice piece of jewelry. I don't know. I'd wear it around my neck probably on a chain, like I'm in a high school. Like, I got my boyfriend's ring. Yeah, one of those. So you can use code DHHRing. Again, if you just wrapped up basketball and hockey, get your championship trophies and belts right now. Football, if you haven't done it already, man, what kind of commissioner are you? Honestly.
I just got my 2023 draft board.
Yeah, and speaking of the draft boards, we use the Trophy Smack draft board in my division, and really good quality, not a single missing player sticker. I didn't have to write in anyone, which almost never happens. And I love that they had the Smack Talk stickers on there. I used them on the board. The embarrassing Baker Mayfield pick I put on there. And then for anyone in the first round, they had player stickers. So I put Kelsey above mine, McCaffrey above Steve, who drafted McCaffrey, and so on and so forth. So it was a lot of fun. Really cool draft kit. I like that a lot. The stickers were really high quality. Very easy to make look very laser lined because I'm all about that tidy draft board life. So check out Trophy Smack again, code DHHRing at checkout.
So I want to intervene. As you were just talking about in high school around your neck, I thought of something that they should make, and I just brought it up to Matt. I texted him, and I said, you guys should make varsity jackets where you guys could put patches for championships.
Oh, that is
like
sweet.
Championships on the sleeves.
See, maybe that's the
pins.
idea that gets us flown out to LA.
Yeah, I think so.
That's an idea, but in my
and
head,
we
that
get
popped
jackets
up.
with our names on them.
That's and then you can put your last
We
name
got
on
the
the back.
DHH logo here. We can have the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah,
we
you
can
just
have
get
Dynasty
patches.
Trade Addicts. I can have my roster size doesn't matter. I won a lot of leagues last year.
And you know
Let's
what?
go.
That makes
I'm
a
gonna
lot
get
of sense,
patches.
Tyler, because with the championship belt that I have the 2 years that I won my home league. I took my home league emblem and I put it on the belt. So you could do it with a jacket. That's awesome.
Just a jacket, like a jacket patch. Like you can, I thought of it. I'm like, God, that'd be so cool. And you get to choose your colors, the leather, and then the inside.
And then you show up to the Fantasy Expo. You're repping your team, like
You
guys,
get a big
grease
C on it
lightning,
for
baby.
champion.
You guys,
Like-
I think we just found our ticket to get to LA.
Let's go.
Think about us.
Drop
start
a like if
business
you like that idea.
entrepreneur.
All right, we are talking about the NFC North today, not the AFC North like it shows in the show sheet. I almost Ron Burgundied it, but I didn't. I caught myself. I'm quick. Oh, there it is. It's
What
live
are you
changes in
talking
the
about?
sheet. Let's go. Our Dynasty divisional breakdown is the NFC North this week, and we are going to start with the state that I will be in next on Thursday, Minnesota, while I'm hanging with Tyler and Damon. We're going to talk about the Vikings. Let's talk a little depth charty action. We all know Kirk Cousins, star of the Netflix series Quarterback, right? Star. Kirk Cousins is the quarterback. We got Jaron Hall, who they drafted this year. Who's there? Who's the number 2 there right now, Tyler, in Minnesota?
Oh God, who's the guy they traded for that was with San Fran?
Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins. There it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like the guy who everybody thought was the next big thing when he was with San Fran. Yeah, that guy.
Not so much. At running back, you've got Alexander Mattison, the new RB1. We've also got our boy Ty Chandler, Dwayne McBride. Nene Wangu is also there, the kick returner extraordinaire. Tight end, we got TJ Hawkinson. They spent big money in the offseason on Josh Oliver, more of a blocking option. And then at receiver, they make the big move in the draft with Jordan Addison in the first round to pair with Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen moves on to the Carolina Panthers, but they still have KJ Osborne. And then outside of that, not a lot. Jalen Naylor. You want to go deep diving? Jalen Naylor. Let's go.
Yeah.
So
am I going to talk?
yeah, go ahead.
Is this expected? Up here in Minnesota, I would say the one thing that happened this offseason was keeping Kirk Cousins. The rumors of him being traded were there, and they're like, oh, they're in a rebuild mode. But honestly, when you have the best receiver in the NFL, you're really never in rebuild mode. He always keeps you in games. He just makes big plays. And I think Cousins should just stay here and retire. Personally, unless he goes to San Fran, I don't think he's going to be in a better position than he is here in Minnesota. So for me, I think they should sign him for another 3 years. I don't care if it's fully guaranteed, because you know what? When you have a quarterback like this he's just right on the fence of game manager, but he does more. Like he's over the fence just a tad more. He pushes the team in the right direction. Addison should help. He's going to help out with the production. I think he's going to help out with Jefferson more than Thielen, because people were like, oh, Thielen's old. He can't run that much. He's just pretty much
He only ran like the second most routes in the league or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, you can do that when you're running curls and short outs. So that's where,
man.
Yep, that's what Adam Thielen was. Hawkinson, I do think will get more involved, and he's going to get paid. For me personally, I think that's why they kind of held off Cousins, because they got Jefferson coming up and they got Hawkinson coming up, and they just didn't pay that much for a tight end to not pay him in the future. I think they want to keep Hawkinson. This line is so much better when Durasol is in the line when he's healthy, which was very slim, I would say. But Alexander Mattison is what this team is everybody's kind of focused on. Now, I thought to myself, if they don't sign Dalvin Cook, because there is an offer out there, rumors have that
1 year,
there's an offer.
$7 million, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
But there's an offer. And
Dalvin's a fool not to take that.
Yeah, Cook should take it. If he doesn't, Mattison will be an RB1. They're going to give him enough touches. They're going to throw him the ball. Because me personally, I don't think they trust the other two. McBride's fine, but Ty Chandler's fine. They're not anything like Mattison is. The issue is you gamble. Right now, Madison's price is great. But with the fear of Dalvin coming back, this price hasn't reached peak. He's still young. He's 24 years old. What is your guys' like? I'm having trouble with it, because there's a chance for me in UDPL. I thought to myself, I could trade Gibbs for Mattison plus Chig plus a little more. Like, for me, it's a running back. I don't care either way. I struggle with running backs in Dynasty now. But what is your guys' thoughts on Mattison coming into this year? Because that is pretty much the big questionable piece in this offense. We all know what Jefferson is. He's wide receiver 1. Jordan Addison, everybody expects him to be kind of a Calvin Ridley light coming into the year. Like, could he be a 1,000-yard receiver with 6 touchdowns, 80 catches? That's kind of like what we're expecting. Mm-hmm. Nothing, he should produce as a wide receiver 3 for Dynasty or fantasy teams. But what Mattison is the question.
All right, I'll take this one, and I'll tie it back into what you had said about Kirk Cousins. He's in the last year of his deal. All right, I like the fact that you said he's going to come back, and I believe it. I think he takes a pay cut. He's 30. He's going to be 35 years old. He's going to try to stay with the team that he knows the system. He knows the players around him. He's comfortable in the offense. And I think that bleeds over to what Alexander Mattison is. Alexander Mattison signed through 2024. All right. This is his make or break year, in my opinion, because the way running backs are valued right now in the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings could just go out and get another one next year in the 2nd or 3rd round, and no one would bat an eye at it. Mm-hmm. So I'm selling Alexander Mattison. I've waited too long for his value to come up to where it needed to be to get rid of him. I'm not banking on him being anything more, Tyler, in season than a low RB2.
Okay. Then now is that without Dalvin Cook? Because I think personally he is an RB1 with the volume and the way
I don't think he can handle the volume, and that's the problem.
I mean, that was a problem. He did get 20 carries.
He couldn't handle it. Once he got up to the 18
very efficient
to the 20 carry a game.
Yeah, it was like 20 for 85.
His yards per carry dipped. He never hit over 5 yards per carry. I think he was in the 3.8. Yeah, the catches are there, and that's great. And I think that's what they want to do with this offense. They bring in Jordan Addison, who will immediately probably have, at minimum, 80 targets this season. And I think that's a healthy start, and it probably will be north of that.
Yeah, probably.
But Jefferson's going to get his. Hawkinson, we saw starting to flash game to game last year. If he gets anywhere between 7 and 8 targets a game, he's going to be a monster as well. I think the Vikings want to pass first and run later. and it really doesn't matter who's really running the ball.
It's a copycat league, and they saw Kansas City win with Pacheco giving them 15 carries a game.
Yeah,
like it's a game. It's NFL where they throw all over the yard, and the running back only needs 10 to 15 carries. The main running back.
I think the thing with Mattison is interesting because I have Alexander Mattison on a couple of rosters right now, and I haven't tried to actively move him yet. But I feel if Dalvin Cook does not re-sign with the Vikings, and it sounds like, he has an offer, but, it's like going back to a score.
And an offer with Miami as well.
Sure. So does he take less? Who knows? To go to Miami? We don't know.
He wants to play with Hopkins. So.
I feel that if Dalvin Cook signs with a team that's not the Minnesota Vikings, then that is the time.
Bingo.
To move Mattison. Is if you kind of split it and be like, all right, I'm going to hold him. Now, if Dalvin Cook re-signs with the Vikings, you're going to take a little bit of an L. At least, but if you think he's going to go elsewhere, then you can really make out, because then Madison's value will definitely rise, because it'll be all the hype, because it doesn't have to worry about Dalvin Cook now. The rumors about blah 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 blah. So the couple leagues that I have him, he's a good depth piece for me because he was pretty much my Dalvin Cook handcuff in these leagues. But yeah, I would wait and hope that Cook signs with the team and then jump on moving Mattison, because that's when he's going to be the most desirable and you'll get the biggest return for him.
It's kind of like with the backup running backs too. Like Ty Chandler is pretty much free right now, but with the news that it's just Mattison, he's more expensive. If Dalvin Cook signs there again, I think his hopes are more doomed than McBride. McBride is only 21. Ty Chandler came in a little older. He was a little older, so I think he's like 24. So as a running back, especially with Mattison signed for 2 more years, that kind of puts him in a hard position when they can have McBride for a little bit longer. So,
I don't think Cook goes back there. Just be personal.
I don't either.
I think if there was any chance that he was going to take a pay cut, I think they would have worked it out before they released him.
Yeah, typically that doesn't happen where a player gets released and then goes back to the team on a small. It's very rare that happens.
I can see Baltimore just coming out of nowhere and signing him.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams. The Patriots, they have cap room. There's been rumors. I mean, they need a running back. I mean, their backup is Ty Montgomery, Pierre Strong. I actually think they're okay at receiver, to be completely honest.
Okay.
But running back, I mean, Ramondre and Dalvin Cook backfield.
That's very, very nice.
I'd be cool. Not for fantasy, but as a real football fan, oh man, that'd be a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook's fun for your real football team, but he is definitely going to hurt some fantasy running back this year.
For sure. Speaking of hurt, now there's not a lot of hurt here, but the Detroit Lions are the next team I want to talk about. Everybody's favorite underdog team last year with Dan Campbell biting shins and ankles. And, they were on Hard Knocks. Jamal Williams was a big favorite. They had a beautiful end to the season where they finished really strong, didn't miss the playoffs by much for Detroit. And they go into this year with high hopes, and they make some really bold moves in the NFL draft on offense. And they made some nice moves on defense in free agency. And, we see Jared Goff sitting atop the depth chart. They did draft Hendon Hooker as a long-term backup. He might get IR this year because he's coming off of a knee injury. I know a lot of people liked him. There was rumors he could be a first-round pick. That was silly. And he wasn't. He ended up going in the 3rd round to Detroit. And Detroit's backup, remind me again, after Goff, they went through like 8 of them last year, I feel like. Tim Boyle, David Blau, I
think they're all gone, though.
I think they're all gone.
I think
they
it
brought
might
someone else
be. I forgot. It's right there.
It's Nate Sudfeld. Nate Sudfeld and Hendon Hooker.
Okay.
And Hendon Hooker is not playing this year.
No.
There's a chance he might, though. I would not put it past them not redshirting him.
Yeah. So it's Jared Goff and logout for the Detroit Lions at quarterback. We all know the running back situation. It got shook up after they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. Jamal Williams is out of town. David Montgomery and his bands that we have to talk about. He's going to lead the way with Jahmyr Gibbs as his backup. They have Craig Reynolds still there. He's a big team guy. He was featured on Hard Knocks too, which is really cool. And they lost they traded DeAndre Swift to Philadelphia. And then at receiver, surprisingly, they didn't make any moves at receiver, really. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown and Josh Reynolds. Quintez Cephas is gone because he likes to gamble. Jamison Williams is suspended for 6 games. I thought that Detroit would be
Jones.
Yeah, that's
they brought back Marvin Jones, the ghost of Marvin Jones. They brought him back. And, of course, at tight end, they trade T.J. Hawkinson last year. They got a lot of touchdowns out of tight ends that no one cared about, to be honest. But now they bring in Sam LaPorta at the very top of the second round, a top 35 pick, my guy, Sam LaPorta, to really make a difference in this offense. Maybe that's why they didn't bring in a receiver, because they are as sold on Sam LaPorta as I am, in an unreasonable way. So I am really looking forward to the Detroit offense. But James, we look at Detroit. Do you think that they can make even more of a leap than they made last year behind that great offensive line that they have?
Yeah, the offensive line didn't really change that much. I think
No.
they add a weapon with Jahmyr Gibbs mainly. I mean, we were all waiting for when Swift would actually break out. He caught some passes, but he also made a lot of mistakes when he was running the ball. And I think they eliminated that by bringing in Jamal Williams last year, and Jamal Williams crushed it. Now they have David Montgomery. David Montgomery's not going to do the same thing. And if you go on Twitter, and Tyler, we can talk about the bands now.
This is so bad.
So David Montgomery is in a training session. Maybe it's rehab. Who knows? Hopefully it was, because he
hurt himself again for sure. If it was,
yeah, he had some what is it?
Resistance
bands
around his
wrapped
waist.
around his waist, and he's like hustling against the torque of them.
Like a sled. He had a weight sled behind him, and he was running.
And he literally fell backwards.
The bands fell back.
Did he break his wrist when he did it though?
The thing
No.
is he
landed
ran,
okay. He stuck the
ran
landing.
forward,
Not as cool as me.
and
All
he was kind of upset with himself that something didn't happen, and then he kind of just stood up straight, not realizing that he had bands around him, resistant bands that were tied to a lot of weight behind him, and he kind of just let
Too much
go
resistance.
of his body, and then he kind of realized like, oh crap, so he kind of stumbled a little bit and caught himself. Honestly, the force that came back, I was kind of shocked he did not tear his ACL or something, because it was a lot of force. And then he just stumbled backwards, and his coach they showed his coach or whoever's training him just rolling his eyes and just like, oh my God, like it was bad.
All right, it was bad. It definitely was bad, but it does give you a little insight on what they're trying to use him for. All right, they're building up his quad muscles to break through the hard tackles in between the
And
tackles.
that's something that I thought he's good at anyway.
Correct. He was very elusive coming out of Iowa State, and he maintained that elusivity.
The
Is that a
legs
word?
of Saquon Barkley.
It is now.
The
It
eyes
is
of
now.
Barry
I don't know.
Sanders.
File it with the dirt department. But he is very elusive, and I think he can pick up the pieces that Jahmyr Gibbs may be missing in year one. All right. We're worried about a little bit of the pass blocking from Jahmyr Gibbs. David Montgomery does that okay. And they're not going to bruise up their brand new diamond in Jahmyr Gibbs that they spent a 12th pick overall on, running in between the tackles. Jamal Williams had 17 touchdowns behind that offensive line. I think David Montgomery, he was poor running near the goal line and on third downs in Chicago, but it's night and day with the offenses, with the offensive line rather. And I think Dave Montgomery will contribute, but Gibbs is still the guy I want in that backfield.
Their reaction to drafting Gibbs was like one of us getting a steal, like somebody falling in a rookie draft at like pick 8. Like that's the reaction they had. And
like Sam LaPorta falling to me at like the 14th round.
It was like when the
Scott
Niners
Fishbowl.
drafted Joe Williams.
Even greater though. Like they were
I remember.
that table was abused. It was all the fun. Like that's got to be a fun group to be a part of. And that's what the Lions are. They're fun. And Gibbs, I'm going to be happy yet sad that they didn't, put Swift in the situation, which kind of makes me realize if Gibbs comes out and destroys like we wanted Swift to, it wasn't the Lions. It was Swift. Like,
it might affect Swift really, really bad.
That's the thing. Like that's what we're going to realize is, hey, whatever happens with Gibbs is going to really depend on how Swift is as a football player or not.
We might just be able to buy low on Swift right now. It might have just been the franchise. Who knows?
You can if you want.
It's a risk.
If you want a running back on the edge of their second deal, that's not a fun thing to do. But
nope.
Yeah, for me, Gibbs is he's a top 6 Dynasty RB already now. That's
right
nuts
now,
to me. I think he's 6.
Yes, he is. Dynasty RB6.
Which is crazy. Like,
Yes.
hasn't even taken a snap. Second running back in the draft when we already had.
Bijan's Dynasty RB1, so
But
whatever.
We've been talking about Bijan for years,
That's true.
and Zeke was the same way. Zeke jumped right in. Barkley jumped right in. Like, these generational guys, we kind of expect that to happen. Like, we all hear the talk like, oh, he could be RB1. I think us Dynasty guys are like, okay, yeah, he's RB1 in Dynasty, 100%. And Gibbs is a surprise to me because there's a lot of people saying Zach Charbonnet over Gibbs. And all of a sudden, Gibbs is RB6 because he's with the Lions. Like, we've done this before. I like Gibbs a lot. If Gibbs doesn't work on his pass protection, we may not see him as much as we hope. But with their wide receiver core hurt with Jameson Williams being out 6 games, I think Gibbs is going to be all over the field. They're going to get him the ball quick. We could see 4 receptions a game, if not more. He's going to probably get 10 carries a game, if not more. Like,
I mean, they've got 3 guys that are really big mismatches in the passing game: Gibbs, LaPorta, and Amon-Ra.
Yeah,
like
and
those guys. Those are the 3 guys that are going to eat in the passing game. 100%.
And I'll leave LaPorta to you. But the last player I want to talk about is 2 players. Goff, highly underrated. I think he's going to get an extension. He should. Guy deserves it. Guy went through hell. Pretty much had his coach give up on him after he went to Super Bowl.
And he's been good now with 2 teams.
He's totally undervalued in Dynasty right now. QB 25. He finished QB 10 last year.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, like Doug and I bought him for what? 2/3, I think it was, in Trade Addicts.
Something like that. It was dirt cheap.
People thought we were just getting a 6-game rental for the end of the year. We saw it as we're getting a great quarterback too.
Still relatively young.
That's not even his price. He's not even quarterback 2 price. People don't believe in him. It's going up a little bit, but I think it's still obtainable. And the last player I want to talk about is Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm sorry. Like, that's all I'm going to say. I thought it was just because Hawkinson and Swift were hurt. It's not.
A lot of people did.
This guy, I shouldn't have done it. And I loved this guy since he was a freshman in USC. This guy I followed him forever. And yet I feel like I gave up on him last year. I sold him for cheap if I had him. And I said, hey, this was only because Swift and Hawkinson were hurt. Nope. This guy is elite. He should be a top 10, top 8 receiver. He's just a guy. He could be Antonio Brown territory just from the target aspect and the way he plays.
Yeah, I'll pour some sugar on that, Tyler. You hit the nail on the head. Dynasty wide receiver 8 right now. Finished as wide receiver 7 last season, and it will definitely continue, especially with the Jameson Williams knucklehead gambling suspension. I mean, he had 140-plus targets, 106 receptions, broke over 1,100 yards. The only thing that needs to come up
touchdowns need to regress positively.
Is the positive regression of the touchdown.
I think they will. Yeah,
and I think it's bound to happen. It hasn't happened yet, and you know what?
LaPorta couldn't make that happen.
He's living in wide receiver 1 Dynasty wide receiver 1 territory without that. So there's always room to go up. Yeah, that means there's still a time where you can buy Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think it may be now because his value at the end of the season is going to be untouchable.
Yeah, some of those Jamal Williams touchdowns, and I think sneakily the Lions had 8 to 10 touchdowns out of their tight ends last year. Like, some of that is going to right the ship to Amon-Ra, and it could be as early as this year. I fully believe that. He is an elite player at his position. Yeah. A lot of people. I was mad when the Pats didn't draft him, and he went to round 4, and I was like, ugh, I was not very happy about that. Like when they passed on Keenan Allen, when Keenan Allen went in the 3rd round. Here's the moral of the story is I should drive 45 minutes north and work in the Patriots scouting department because me personally would do a better job drafting receivers than the crew that they have now.
That's the thing is why don't teams hire just 1 or 2 per building, hire fantasy football people like us because seriously, AJ Brown and DK Metcalf, we all loved. And
the
yet,
NFL Network does it.
I wasn't a huge DK guy, but I did like AJ.
Cooper Kupp. There's a lot of people on Cooper Kupp even before this. Like Matthew Berry was on Cooper Kupp forever, and yet everybody was like, no. Like hire a couple fantasy football people just for your building to have that in your ear. Be like, hey, I get you like this Division 3 guy, and you want to draft him first receiver taken, but there's this 6'2" monster that you can have, and he is so good, and he's going to produce for fantasy if you draft him.
Yeah, maybe we should start that trend. We're not only going to start the varsity jackets,
and you get a
jackets,
varsity jacket when you sign us.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And speaking of getting things, you can maybe get some when you use Manscaped, because you are going to be shorn like a fresh sheep. You are going to smell like a batch of roses. You are going to feel like silk. And
Smooth
you know
as
what?
leather, like those leather jackets we're working on.
Yeah, smooth as leather. Absolutely amazing product with Manscaped. The proper grooming requires precision engineered tools, and they have that in spades. Lawnmower 4.0, wireless charger. It's waterproof, skin safe technology. It's not going to nick you up, which is amazing. It's got a little LED light on there if you want to get wild in the dark. Feel free. Nose and ear trimmer also included in the startup kit. Crop preserver, the cleanser, the reviver, all the things to make downtown smell absolutely pleasant and feel even more pleasant. So check it out. Use code DHH for 20% off at checkout. Manscaped, your balls, they got nothing to do but to thank you for it.
I got to use our beard trimmer tonight, so I will
Yeah,
be
man, you're
using
looking a
it
little
later.
scruffy, man.
It is. It's getting a little long.
I get my hair cut on Tuesday before I fly out, and I know.
Got to trim up for Doug.
Oh yeah, I'll bring all my Manscaped items.
Just bring them bring them on the plane. You guys can do it together.
Hey, it comes in a nice travel bag, so
yeah,
that is true. That is true. All right, our next team we're going to talk about are the Green Bay Packers. Lots of transition, especially at the quarterback position. Aaron Rodgers has been traded to the New York Jets. So now it's Jordan Love season, which makes Tyler very excited because he has been a Jordan Love guy for a while. I don't even know who their backup is in Green Bay. Like, who's the backup?
Sean Clifford, right?
Oh, the Penn State kid who probably won't make the team.
So bad.
So bad. We all know the running backs there. They've got Aaron Jones at the top of the depth chart, partnered with A.J. Dillon. I'm trying to think even who their third string is.
I don't even know. That's a good point.
And you know what? I don't even care.
Oh, it's
Is
Lou
it
Nichols. They picked up
They did draft
undrafted free agent Patrick
undrafted,
Taylor,
yeah.
Tyler Goodson.
Oh,
Yeah,
Tyler
I did like
Goodson.
Tyler Goodson.
I still really like him, but
Yeah.
he was a practice squad guy.
Yeah, wide receiver. They've got Christian Watson, the rookie phenom from last year. Romeo Doubs, who's been leading the league in hype so far in the last couple of weeks.
All the time.
They go out and draft my boy Jaden Reed, which made me very excited. So this is a very, very young, very inexperienced offense. And then at tight end, Robert Bag of Funyuns is gone. He went to our next team, the Chicago Bears. And they double tap tight end, which a lot of teams will do. They take Luke Musgrave as well as Tucker Kraft. So I think Green Bay is one of the most interesting teams in the NFL because you have the inexperienced quarterback. I mean, you have the two veteran running backs, but pass catchers, it could be some growing pains for this team. But I think that like by midseason, you could see them start to make some noise, Tyler. What do you think? What do you think about Jordan Love and crew?
I mean, I'm a big Jordan Love fan. The thing is, as a Minnesota fan, you want them to fail. But as a fantasy fan, I want Jordan Love to succeed. We've seen this with Green Bay 2 times. Brett Favre comes in. You got a ton of years with him, 15, 17 years. Then you think, okay, it's over. Aaron Rodgers, he's been sitting for 4 years. Okay, there's another 17 years of great production from quarterback. Jordan Love sits 4 years. Man, he's sitting 4 years. He can't be good. It's going to happen again. Like, we're sitting here all doubting it like we did with Rodgers, and it's going to happen again. They're going to be set at quarterback for 17 years. They're going to be, relevant in the North. And all the other fans like Detroit, who's got hope now, Minnesota, who's got hope now, and Chicago, who's getting a little hope, who we'll talk about, it's all going to fade because the Packers are always just going to be the Packers. They're going to be on top. Since I've been here on Earth, it just seems like they're always there. And going into fantasy not doing the fandom, Jordan Love is a fine chance at quarterback. And I don't think his price is crazy at all. I mean, we're talking about a late first for players at non-premium positions. Give me the chance at a quarterback with a late first, because if Love hits, that 1 first goes to 2 first plus. Or it even goes to 3 first plus. Like, he could produce. He could be a top 10 quarterback that we've all sitting here like, hey, it's the Packers. They're a great organization. They know what they're doing. And here we are. Wash, rinse, repeat. Jordan Love, a top 10 dynasty quarterback. But there's risk. I mean, there's a reason why he sat 4 years. Up here mentally, he didn't have it. He was making bad decisions. But the thing that I liked and a lot of scouts liked was his throwing motion. Now, all we hear is the guy can spin the ball. And I think me personally, I knew that from watching the combine, from watching the tape. The guy could throw with given time and making the right reads. That's what it was all about. Hopefully the 4 years helps. I'm taking a chance on Love. I know you guys aren't big on him. Doug's a little on the fence, but I know, James, you're not for it. But I'm all about Jordan Love. I think he's going to succeed, which hurts me as a Vikings fan, but I love, if you held, good on you.
And I'll play devil's advocate here. On the other side of it is the fact that, he really hasn't played too much. And if I don't see it, sometimes I don't believe it. All I have to go off of is his college stats, where he threw 20 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. I don't want that.
For 8 against Philly.
Yeah, that's nice.
He threw a touchdown.
8. Yeah, I really haven't seen it. And I think the offense and the personnel on the offense speaks for itself when I say that it's going to be a run-first team. And Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are going to play the main spotlight in this offense. And Dillon is the most intriguing one because his value is down there at running back 28. Oh, yeah? You're out? Cool. He's 25 years old. He's going into his last year of his contract.
Okay.
All right. All it takes is Aaron Jones to go down once. And A.J. Dillon pops up and can be and has the size to be a 3-down back.
I've heard this 2 years straight.
We've heard the story before.
Aaron Jones, I get he's old. He's starting to wash away. You know what? I've heard this. I'm done fading Aaron Jones. The guy signed a contract and he restructured. I'm
not fading Aaron Jones. I'm saying A.J. Dillon's a value.
He came into the league late. People forget about that. And like, oh, look at his age. He came into the league same year as Dalvin Cook. He's just a couple years older than those guys. And it's because he came in late. You know what he's doing? He's outproducing these guys. And he's way cheaper in Dynasty. If I'm a contender and I'm able to go get a cheap piece, Aaron Jones is it. People look at that age. He's close to 29. No, I don't want it. Yeah, I'm going to take a chance on that for 2 years rather than go out and get a Joe Mixon for a late first if I have to. No, I'm going to get Aaron Jones for cheaper.
I mean, Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, Miles Sanders, they're all going into their second contract or are in their second contract, and they're all around the same area as far as Dynasty ADP goes. So I enjoy Aaron Jones. I don't have too many shares of him in Dynasty. I think he's going to be an asset on that team and very well could be an escape valve for Jordan Love if he gets pressured, which we saw Aaron Rodgers do a lot of. And Aaron Jones never really scored on the ground anyway. He only had two rushing touchdowns, and the rest were 5 receiving touchdowns. So what you want is the volume, and Aaron Jones will get first crack at it. I'm just saying, with Aaron Jones getting a little bit older and it being a run-first offense due to the fact that they don't have much receiving weapons on the field, Dillon's very, very undervalued right now at RB28.
I think he's dirt cheap right now.
I can't stand it. Like, give me why do I want 8 points hoping for a touchdown? Like, that's what A.J. Dillon is.
Because those 8 points could wind up turning into 16 to 20 points.
But how much more often was it 8 points, 6 points, 5 points? It
who's
was
to
a
say
lot
that
more
Dillon?
often.
Who's to say that next year Aaron Jones, in the last year of his contract, and they re-sign A.J. Dillon for $6 million a year?
I'm going to talk you out of A.J. Dillon right now. James, you're not a Jordan Love fan. Okay.
No.
This offense needs to move down the field for A.J. Dillon to be of relevance, to get a touchdown. If you don't think that's going to happen with Jordan Love, why are you buying A.J. Dillon? Because they need to get down the field.
Because they're a run-first team, and he's running the ball.
Is he, though? With Jones healthy, is he? Is he going to see that much volume that he's going to?
I mean, with Jordan Love, an inexperienced quarterback, I could see them both getting 15 touches a game, to be quite honest.
But 15 carries for 40 yards is not okay for me.
Really? He's going to get less than 3 yards a carry? Come on.
That's a low
disrespectful.
blow,
Let's go through his stats from this past year, because I started A.J. Dillon in a couple leagues, and it was
so you're a scorn lover.
It was gross. I had him in Scott Fishbowl. I was super pumped. People were like, hey, this guy's going to be a great RB2 for your team. You know what he was? He was a great bench spot for my team because
how about we start out with week 1 of last year and maybe we should just stop there. 51% snap share. Okay. 20.1 PPR fantasy points.
Great.
10
attempts.
Let's
keep going.
45 yards and a touchdown. And he had 5 receptions.
Let's keep going.
For 46
I was told he
yards.
couldn't catch the ball, James.
I thought he couldn't catch.
Let's keep going, though. Let's keep going.
What? Where else do you want to go?
You tell me. That's week 1. Great.
I want to move on from AJ Dillon. He's sucking up way too much bandwidth.
I am
on this
moving
podcast.
on from AJ Dillon.
Right.
That's the whole point.
We can table this one for another day at another time.
We're
got
definitely
quiet,
revisiting
James.
this.
Yeah, I think if you drafted Luke Musgrave, I think that obviously he's got all the opportunity in the world as a rookie. We know rookie tight ends. This class is great. There's going to be a lot of rookie tight ends that are going to be immediate starters. LaPorta, Musgrave, Michael Mayer, I believe, Kincaid. He's got to split with Knox a little bit. I think that not only Musgrave, but this class could really buck the trend of rookie tight ends not producing because they're going to be thrown right into it. Yep. So I like Luke Musgrave. I really like Jaden Reed because you talk about a guy that has a different skill set than Watson and Dobbs, could be a quarterback's best friend, good route runner, charted well in reception perception with Matt Harmon. So I like he has draft capital. He's a top 50 pick. So I like Jaden Reed quite a bit. I was able to get him in the late second in a lot of rookie drafts, and he was one of my targets there. So yeah, I think this offense very, very interesting. To say the least. And speaking of it, go ahead.
About Jaden Reed, my only problem with him is, Matt Harmon talks about the steady drum beat, and you really hope to hear news about rookie receivers really popping or showing something, and it's quiet about him. Like, it's all about Dobbs, and if Dobbs is taking Dobbs is taking the spotlight from him.
Mini camps are like 2 days, Tyler.
I personally think Dobbs is he's just a guy. Like he's there. So if he's taking the spotlight over him, I
don't think it really matters outside of Christian Watson. Because they're going to run the ball with AJ Dillon.
I agree with Doug about Musgrave. I think people are really sleeping on Musgrave due to the injury and thinking that they drafted the tight end in the 3rd round. They didn't have any depth. So Tucker Kraft was a great depth piece, and Musgrave is the guy that they went out and got. I mean, they had their option at receiver there, and they passed and said, no, we want this guy, this tight end, and that's what we're going. Wasn't he taken before Mayer?
No,
early second round.
It was LaPorta before Mayer.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Musgrave was after that.
Okay. Yeah, I really like Musgrave. I think he's my most rostered rookie, and I was snagging him up at the end of the seconds in tight end premiums. I really like his skill set, especially in this offense.
Yeah. Speaking of offenses that we might like, I'm not really sure of yet.
Pieces.
We do like pieces. We're going to move on to the Chicago Bears. Obviously, Justin Fields at the helm, over 1,000 yards rushing last year. Struggled a bit as a passer, but didn't have a lot of weapons. Darnell Mooney was hurt. I mean, there wasn't anybody that really popped in their offense outside of Fields last year. Montgomery had a solid season with them. So we got Justin Fields. Who's the backup there? Is it Chase Daniel or is he in LA? I don't even know. I'm terrible with backup quarterbacks, by the way. I don't think it matters.
I think it's a Russian quarterback, maybe.
A Russian quarterback? Like his name's like Oleg Taktarov
PJ Walker and Nathan the Neck Peterman.
I knew it was
PJ
Russian.
Carolina Panthers legend PJ Walker.
Yes. PJ Walker still in the league. XFL PJ
He followed
Walker.
DJ Moore. He was part of the trade.
The original XFL.
They just didn't know it. They're like, wait, PJ was in? Yeah. I know. He's in it.
Made him feel comfortable walking in the door with PJ.
Yes. In the backfield, we've got new additions in the backfield. So Khalil Herbert is a holdover. He's there. I love Khalil Herbert. I love the talent. I hope he gets first crack at it. But they did sign Donta Foreman, who has had a nice little post-Achilles resurgence in the last couple of years with the Titans and the Panthers, and he's looked really, really good. He was cranking it out for the Panthers last year, 100-yard games. He's a mean runner, like a Marshawn Lynchian type of runner, just as in the explosiveness, obviously, with the Achilles. But they bring in Donta Foreman. They draft a lot of one of their favorite running backs in this class, Roschon Johnson, who obviously backed up and split carries with Bijan. So there's some opportunity there for Roschon possibly. So the backfield is a little bit of, we don't know. A lot of question marks there, which I think you can go and get those pieces incredibly cheap and kind of roll the dice and try to hit on one, Khalil Herbert.
A lot of Kansas City field to that backfield.
Yeah, very much so. And then at wide receiver, they make the trade. They move down from the 101 to the 109 with the Carolina Panthers. And the biggest piece of that trade is wide receiver DJ Moore. We're going to get Darnell Mooney back this offseason or this season. Chase Claypool, we've already heard some trouble in paradise with him.
Yeah, video came out of him training, and people are like, look at this. The guy tried to juke, and I go, who's getting faked out by that? Like,
Such a promising rookie year with
God.
10 total touchdowns, and it's been nothing but downhill for Chase Claypool ever since.
And we brought that up a couple years ago
Lazy.
about his attitude, and
He's a knucklehead.
I said I hope it changed. There was a video coming out of the fight that he had, and yeah, that's kind of where it all started.
Absolute knucklehead, Chase Claypool. And then at tight end, we've got Cole Kmet, who I still like, but they bring in Robert Tonyan. I don't think Tanyan's going to siphon targets off Kmet. I think Kmet's going to be a solid 6 to 7 target a game type of tight end. I don't think he's ever going to be a top 8 tight end, but could he be a back end tight end 1? I could be at this point. That's how tight end is. So I still like Cole Kmet. I think that Fields and him have a good rapport, which is important. Now, on the Bears, other pass catchers, I feel like I'm forgetting a name that they
Not a relevant one.
Oh, that they drafted Tyler Scott, who a lot of people really like as a late round flyer, and I've got him pretty affordable in some rookie drafts, either as an UDFA or a round 5 pick.
Yeah.
Because you look at it, Mooney's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. You've got Scott could replace Mooney. They have a very similar skill set. But I want you to talk about like DJ Moore. We know he's been consistent, over 1,000 yards every year he's been in the league, I believe. At least 4 touchdowns. That's pretty much his baseline. A relative target hog. Are you scared off of DJ Moore because of Justin Fields?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Now, for me,
maybe
it's kind of the area where Jalen Hurts was last year. Like, are you willing to take the jump with Fields? Hurts, were you willing to take the jump with him? Because there's questions. Now, for me, the Bears have enough draft capital next year to possibly move up. Or they could have the 101 if they're that bad again. That's the thing. If they have the 101, I think they're going away from Fields. They're going to go away from Fields, get Caleb Williams, and build around him, or Drake May. Like, it depends on what kind of player they are looking for. Do they want Herbert, or do they want a Hurts style, or that? That's the question with Fields. We're in that position now. That Fields is what, quarterback 7, 8 in Dynasty right now? 8.
Yeah.
And that's very high. Now, I tried trading him in a league that you're in, Doug, 10,000 Lakes League. It's impossible because his value is so high, and you have that value for the rushing that people don't want to deal with it because they're in the same position. Like, hey, is this guy going to be there, or is he just going to be a guy that's going to get traded, new offense?
There's a
new
lot
team?
of similarities between Justin Fields' situation and Jalen Hurts' situation in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are like, is Jalen Hurts the guy? Are they going to trade? Are they going to bring someone in? And then, so Jalen Hurts in his first year as a starter struggled as a passer.
That's what I just said, Doug.
But like, yeah, it's crazy. I'm just
No.
I'm just doubling down.
We can look.
So
we
you're
can
with
look
me, yes.
back even further and say Lamar Jackson struggled in this first year as a passer as well, and we all look to him as
Could he play
maybe
running
one of
back?
the top, like a running back. So
Work out as a
maybe
wide
we should
receiver.
just be looking at Justin Fields as a running back. I mean, if we've looked at the offseason tea leaves, read them wisely from the Chicago Bear coaches, they're saying that why would we take away the best part of his game, which is running. So I think
And improvising. Yeah.
they improvise him into their own system and say, okay, we need to build around Justin Fields. We need an absolute reliable wide receiver in DJ Moore. And that's what they did. They went out and got one. That'll open it up a little bit for Darnell Mooney so he can actually be a wide receiver 3. And yes, I said wide receiver 3 because that's probably really where he should be.
Cole Kmet will be probably the second target.
Yes, and Cole Kmet, totally underrated right now for Dynasty tight end 17.
Wow.
Finished as tight end 7 last year. Even with adding Robert Tonyan, he should not be that low.
No.
It's
They
crazy that he
revamped
finished at tight end 7 last year.
They revamped the
Yeah.
offensive line, which is exactly what they needed. You need to give Fields just like a couple milliseconds more because if you're getting rushed, your throwing motion's going to be off too. And that's all the talk. Like, his throwing motion's off. I did see his throwing motion. He's working on it. And for me personally, when you get back into that mode, you're going to go back to old habits, and I think that's what's going to happen to Fields with DJ Moore and Fields. Doug, going back to your question, if you're in a win now team, I think I'd rather have him than any of the 3 later receivers or 2 later receivers. It's probably like 107 is where I'm kind of tagging DJ Moore at. He's 26. Still got some tread on those tires. And the best part is Justin Fields, pretty deep ball. He's got a very nice deep ball. And DJ Moore, what he's really hasn't been utilized with is the deep ball. It's always been short, run after catch. Yeah. And he gets the occasional deep ball, but he hasn't had a quarterback like this since Cam Newton.
I would love to see a team use DJ Moore like the Seahawks used to use Doug Baldwin.
Or Tyler Lockett. Use him like Tyler Lockett.
I mean, not as much as Baldwin manned the slot, but he would get deep shots too. In Seattle, and DJ Moore reminds me a little bit of Doug Baldwin, but better. I think he's better than Doug Baldwin. But Baldwin was a scrappy player who was consistent, that could run good routes, and that could stretch the field if he needed to, and did stretch the field in Seattle. But DJ Moore just has never been used like that, so that would make a lot of sense.
Quarterbacks wise, what are you guys doing with Justin Fields? If like we all talked about, we all agree he's in that Hurts mode from last year. They have all the draft capital in the world to move on from him next year. They were a bad team last year. They had the 101. They could move on. Like, what should we do? Because I have Fields, and I'm still on the fence about it. Like, I would love, personally, because he's my second quarterback. I have Herbert. I would love to get Bryce Young plus. I tried that, and I can't do that. Like, for me, I'm looking for more safety. But if he's your quarterback 1, and you kind of want, like, he's in a very tough position, and it's more about the belief.
I think with Fields, it's interesting because if Chicago struggles this year and Fields doesn't grow that much, that's a totally different front office than that drafted Justin Fields. They're gone.
Yeah.
So there's no necessarily loyalty. And as we know in the NFL, when someone takes over a front office, they want to bring in their guys. And like you said, they're going to have the draft capital to do that if they so choose. So for me, it's a make or break year for Justin Fields, not necessarily as a player, but in Chicago. So could he go somewhere where he could be better? For sure.
Go back to Atlanta.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I think if I have Justin Fields and someone wants to pay me his value, I would move on from him.
100%. If I could get his actual value, yes.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a top 5 guy.
Dynasty trade calculator, and your move with Bryce Young intrigued me, Tyler, so I had to look it up. Bryce Young, 2024 4th and 2nd would get you Justin Fields. If I can get that for Justin Fields, I'm out. See you later. Bye.
Yeah, honestly, there's a chance you might be able to do Bryce Young in a first next year for Fields.
I would do that.
Especially if you get a person that is a big Fields believer. Like they're out there. There's a lot of people that absolutely love Justin Fields and his ability to run. Don't get me wrong. He's a great fantasy asset. For me in Dynasty, I'm looking for comfort at quarterback. I want to know I'm going to have them for years. That's for me at quarterback. If I'm drafting him,
like a Young overall, or a Stroud, like if you tear down.
That's what I said. Yeah, I was thinking more of the Stroud because I have a lot of Stroud.
Yeah, you're a Stroud. You're a Stroud guy. Like, how about Anthony Richardson straight up for Fields? I 100% am doing that. I'm taking Richardson because I believe Richardson is a better passer right now than Fields. Like his throwing motion is better. For me, the way he throws and the way he looks.
I don't get caught up in throwing motion as much. I mean, look at Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
Pat Mahomes is different, and people hated his throwing motion.
I understand. I mean, look at Phillip Rivers. Like he has the ugliest throwing motion forever, but he's probably going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. I know.
I think Justin Fields' value right now in Dynasty is pretty safe, barring any injury, of course. I can't see his value skyrocketing past to where it is unless he really gets the throwing going.
He's not going to surpass a Lamar or
so I mean, he's currently QB8. I mean, the most he can go up is 6 to 5, maybe. And
I
so
can see
I'm
him
not
passing Jackson. I can see him if he throws better.
If he throws better, but what did the Ravens do? They went out and added to their wide receiver room too. So I don't see his value changing as much. So I think if you can get out now, he's going to be a declining value eventually because he's that run first quarterback. So
Yep.
if you're getting a younger one in Anthony Richardson plus, then yeah, okay, I'm down for that.
Yeah, for me, it's still my belief in the player. I think, like I said, Richardson is definitely, me personally, I think he's a better thrower than Fields. So if I'm getting kind of the same upside and plus probably more years with Richardson, and
Debatable.
I think Richardson has.
I think
3
Richardson
years.
has a better coach that's really tailored to what he
Yes.
can do too. That's a big
I
difference.
agree with that.
And 3
Yeah.
years. I think Richardson's starting 3 years, no matter what in Indy. They're taking the hits, they're taking the lumps, and they're gonna roll with it. And for me, Fields, like that's the problem is after this year.
Fields
What
needs
are
to
they
win
doing?
some ball games, otherwise Chicago fans will start screaming.
And they were very close football games, and Fields did everything he could to stay in those. But man, when he's running the ball, every time he ran the ball, I'm like, oh God, he's gonna get hurt. He's gonna get hurt,
And he got
did.
sacked a lot.
He got nicked up so much, but
He's
that
been sacked the
offensive
most in the NFL, I think, in the last 2 years.
They drafted a nasty
Reminds me of Cam
offensive
Newton.
lineman. Nasty offensive lineman, and that should definitely help. And they did their best to kind of work that to be more of a wall. And they are massive offensive linemen that are on that line, so that's always a nice thing. For running backs, the cheapest. I mean, Roshan's definitely the most expensive. I think
Foreman's the cheapest.
Foreman's not bad though.
Foreman, it is like they paid him. I like Herbert. It's going to be
I
a
love Khalil
three-headed
Herbert.
monster.
Foreman's going to be the short yardage back.
I would not be shocked if they're a team that goes on and get Kareem Hunt either.
Very similar skill set to Roshan Johnson.
Yeah.
Keep it all muddied up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Cole Kmet, underrated.
Especially if Roshan doesn't pick up the offense and Khalil Herbert's still lagging.
Well, I think
after the
Roshan,
injury.
because he's such a team player and he's very good
I
on
like that,
special
Tyler.
teams. I think
Kareem
that
Hunt.
is going to be
His pass blocking is great too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I do want one. Darnell Mooney. Yeah, I saw him go for, I think it was a second.
Too much.
I'm not about that. I know
Take
pictures
that
came
second
out.
and run.
I know pictures came out. Him all beefed up, coming back from injury. Yeah,
Cool.
I'm good. I'm staying away from Mooney. This passing attack is not. It's going to be DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, and I'm out.
Yeah,
I
I agree with that 100%. All right, well, that is going to wrap up the NFC North. Thank you, boys. Beautiful job. We ran a little long. That's okay. We had some good things to talk about. You know, we want to talk about Fields and Hurts over and over again, and you know, we did that. So that's always good. I do want to make sure you go and check out our friends over at dynastynerds.com. Sign up for the Nerd Herd. Use code DHH for 15% off of any subscription. You get trade tools. There's an extra episode, prospect film room, prospect scores, Dynasty GM, just all sorts of really cool stuff on there. And while you're on the internet, heck, go on Viridian Global and check out DHH. You need a fresh new t-shirt because it's so humid up here in the Northeast. You've just been sweating through them left and right. You can get a new t-shirt. You can get a hat, you know, in the winter. Winter's coming.
Hoodies.
That's what they say.
Actually,
Hoodies are great.
it started a month ago here in Minnesota.
I know. I'm just glad I'm out there and it's nice out. That's
Doug,
the
don't
big
forget to pack the electric blanket.
Yes.
Yeah, with my electric razor. So it's going to be great. It's going to be a beautiful time. So we'll see. I don't know what we're doing for next week. I know James will be here. Tyler will be here. I don't know if I'm going to be broadcasting in person with Tyler, remote. I don't know what I'm doing. We'll figure it out. Maybe I take the week off. I don't know.
We got to figure it out Saturday, but there's not going to be a lot of thinking Saturday. Just a lot of drinking.
Yeah,
Oh,
that'll
boy.
be the only inking we're doing. Well, maybe shrinking. No, not shrinking. Expanding. That's not an inking. Whatever.
I want to
done.
see two faces on one screen.
2-1 faces.
just
His
one
face
long face.
on top of your face.
Like face off?
Yeah.
He took his face.
He took-
All right, that is going to do it this week for Dynasty Happy Hour. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Check us out every week.
Or not.
We have good times here. This is what it's all about. For James, for Tyler, I'm your host, Doug. We will see you next week, possibly you, on Dynasty Happy Hour.